With the release of Outsiders came Uzuri. The switcheroo assassin immediately stood out as a player's challenge. Present your opponent with difficult choices and maximize on the consequences. And she has done very well for herself as a disruptive meta call. 405 classic constructed living legend points, along with many top 8s along the way. But right now, Uzuri faces a significant challenge. While her disruptive nature will always allow her to pop in from time to time, Uzuri is inherently limited by her own design.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
As a hero, Uzuri is a delivery vehicle for disruption. Uzuri's core mechanic, swapping in attacks, is undeniably potent. It creates a unique minigame each turn, forcing opponents into uncomfortable blocking situations and opening windows to both push damage and to disrupt the opponent's game plan. Take for example a classic yet vanilla Uzuri play, attacking with a blue infect with one card remaining in hand. That card in hand could be nothing, or it could be a command and conquer, or a shakedown, or an already dead. The opponent faces a decision tree. They could no block, retaining all their cards, guaranteeing at least 1 damage in a blood rot, and openly taking the risk for far worse. Or they could 1 card block the infect, knowing full well there's an excellent chance that Uzuri comes over the top. Finally, they could commit multiple cards to the block to prevent potential disruption, knowing full well they are very probably wasting cards, and still allowing Uzuri an arsenal off the card in hand, only to be seen later on. No matter the path chosen, there can be significant impact to the opponent's next turn. It is this disruptive strength that has propelled Uzuri to her competitive success, allowing her to both punish predictable play and to exploit defensive weaknesses. However, this very strength is also the source of her limitation. Uzuri's effectiveness is directly tied to the power of the cards that she can swap in. There's no denying the power of a backstab into a command and conquer. But as the card pool grows, and new heroes are introduced with increasingly efficient interactions, Uzuri's toolkit remains functionally static. Unlike other heroes who can build more intricate combos or leverage synergies across multiple turns, Uzuri does one thing, and one thing only, her switcheroo. While very powerful, it remains the only thing she has over other assassins. If Uzuri here isn't doing her thing, then there isn't really much reason to play her. Yet, a significant portion of her power is consumed by enabling her switcheroo. As such, Uzuri often struggles to incorporate cards that don't either facilitate her switcheroo or provide immediate and impactful damage. And as such, her innovation upside is actually pretty limited. Now, that's not to say there is zero room for such. In his Pro Tour Amsterdam victory run with Uzuri, Yamamura Shoma utilized looking for a scrap to take advantage of his stealth blues that had hit the discard, and ran Hurl for extra attacks and the threat of dagger on hits. But Uzuri misses out on the cumulative damage advantage that many other heroes can generate through multi-card interactions, and her game plan becomes highly predictable. Lead with a piddly stealth attack, hopefully with a decent on-hit, threaten the swap, and then deliver with something impactful. And while certainly strong in the right matchups, it makes her very vulnerable to opponents who understand her core strategy and heroes who play very well into it. And that, my friends, is the challenge that Uzuri faces going forward, right? One of the only ways to uplevel her is through straight power creep. In order for Uzuri to keep pace and overcome her inherent limitations, her cards need to do more and become more threatening, either through disruptive effects or through raw damage. Because in general, Uzuri is looking at a 6 threat damage with disruption, right? That's kind of her core thing. And in general, this isn't enough damage alone to win a game of Flesh and Blood right now, which means that, practically, Uzuri relies more on her disruption than her damage. And thus, a natural step in this development is to offer Uzuri more raw damage power. Sneak Attack from Outsiders, a card clearly intended for Uzuri Unlimited, is a pretty great template for what future cards could look like. However, while Legend Story Studios has certainly been power leveling the game of Flesh and Blood in the last few sets, they continue to do so in a non-blatant way. And by that, I mean that we don't see creep through straight numbers on a card. A 2-drop will still be a 6 attack or value equivalent. But rather, it's in the interactions where the power lies. And thus, it's highly unlikely that Uzuri will get like a 2 for 8, for example. And without the ability to capitalize on interactions due to her very linear ability, that kind of puts her in a rough spot to that end. Not to mention, of course, Codex of Frailty. Any pushed card within the assassin space has to be accounted for multiple times. For example, it would be helpful to Uzuri to have a switcheroo card that offers Go Again, but with the threat of a Codex Chaser, that seems pretty untenable. Furthermore, as a non-talented assassin, introducing generic assassin cards to the pool risks leaving Uzuri still farther behind. And while I acknowledge that most of the existing assassins would likely not want to play many 2-drop cards, the true solution here lies in targeted improvements that directly addresses Uzuri's specific situation. And this is why Uzuri is an excellent candidate for the Armory deck treatment, a curated set of cards specifically for her and supporting the unique switcheroo playstyle. While the low-hanging fruit to this end is of course specialization cards, completely siloing them to Uzuri, I actually think that returning to the sneak attack and shakedown type template is the key. Imagine an arc of assassin cards with on-hit effects that trigger only if a reaction has been activated this link. That seems pretty up Uzuri's alley. These attacks would become their most efficient in her hands, allowing her to trigger them with an even vanilla 2-card switcheroo. While sure, any other assassin could do it off a shred, Uzuri supplies the attack reaction to turn them on. So these type of cards would allow designers to fine-tune Uzuri's power level without significant impact to the wider game. And while I certainly wouldn't expect a card that can piggyback into a codex, in fact we should really actually hope that there's not, it would allow for a targeted power creep of sorts that is constrained within Uzuri's playstyle. So I do believe that this approach, or at least one like it, would ensure that our switcheroo assassin can continue to present difficult choices for years to come, not just as a nuisance, not just as a meta call, but as a hero with evolving and synergistic lines of play. So my Uzuri friends, let me know your thoughts, and go Commando.